This is Beyond a Reasonable Doubt with your hosts, Mark Garrigus and Gary Smith.
Welcome, Gary. Have you recuperated from last night?
Absolutely not. I went straight from LAX to Engine Co. for the Rob Weiss orchestra, and it was a blast. I'm so glad I didn't miss it, but I'm an absolute mess.
So unfortunately, I was not there, but I can't tell you the number of pictures and videos that were texted to me. Give me recount a little bit of what happened.
Oh, rightfully so. I mean, it was Engine Co. was taken over by a famed producer, Rob Weiss, and a 12-piece orchestra that went with it. There was a Grammy-winning DJ that started the night off. I got there right as soundcheck was finishing off, and I got to sit with our friend Chris Hannon and his daughter, who was lovely. And everyone had some Engine Co. food. I had a few sliders, and then after the DJ played for about an hour, the orchestra came out and did some amazing renditions of 80s and 90s R&B hits, including Babyface, and there was a very special rendition of the Fresh Prince soundtrack, theme song rather. It was so cool, and I've never seen Engine Co. hopping so much on a Saturday night. I mean, it was magical.
Wow. Okay, I'm not missing the next one. No way.
Nor should you. I think we have a series on our hands. I wouldn't be surprised if we could do these, quarterly or even once every 2 months. It was really, really special.
I love it. Well, we've got a lot coming up. Let's segue. Speaking of a lot coming up, quite a week in taking the midnight train to Georgia, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a hopping week. I've been trying very hard to keep up, and it's been something else. Where do you want to start today?
Well, I'm going to let you curate because I've got a lot to say on all the subjects. So let's see what you come up with first. What do you think's there was one video that I saw, and I watched part of this, believe it or not, on C-SPAN, which I think I had sent to you, right?
Yes, I think you may have. Most of the clips that I have, let's see, the one I have that's from C-SPAN, I believe, is of Fani's lawyer. Is that the one that you're thinking of?
Yes. Let's start there.
Okay, let's do it.
Of which was never.
Oh, looks like I shared the wrong thing there. Hold on one second. Let me make sure that I have this right. Sorry. Hold on. Just bear with me one second. If you want to set this up, just give me 1 second here to figure it out.
When we say Fani's lawyer, she's got a lawyer who is representing her. And, I'm a great fan of watching oral advocacy. And here you go with her lawyer.
Of which was never shown. And all the while, Ms. Willis, facing these costs, has been able to continue to do the work unrelated to this case, which is shown in the fact that Atlanta's murder rate and violent crime rates have decreased while she has been in office. What was shown through the testimony of all of the witnesses and through the evidence that Your Honor heard was that there wasn't an actual conflict, that the defense failed to provide any sort of actual conflict in relation to Ms. Wade's, the relationship that transpired.
I'm going to pause right here because I would pay good money to see what was on that Post-it note.
It's like, why the heck are you talking about the murder rate going down? And why do you think that is going to play or persuade this judge?
Veer in this direction one more time and your job is mine is what I would imagine it says. So I backed it up just a second so anyone who didn't miss it can check this out, but we'll continue playing the clip.
The relationship that transpired from the relationship between her and Mr. Wade, and that there was absolutely no evidence of a financial benefit that she gained as it relates to the prosecution of this case and the ultimate outcome of the case. The corroboration of all of that is the things that Your Honor is very much aware that she could have, financially benefited from stretching out the case, for lack of better words, by the special grand jury recommended that 39 individuals be indicted. But through her sifting through the special grand jury's report and all of the evidence with the team that indicted the case, they only went with 19 of the defendants, which Had she gone with all 39, based on the defense counsel's assertions, would have given her the opportunity to certainly find these financial gains that are claimed through the allegations of defense counsel.
Can you imagine, Gary, if this was your lawyer, what you would do? Look, I
would cop a plea immediately because I would have absolutely zero confidence whatsoever that he could get me off of anything.
What are we talking about? I mean, dude, why don't you just get like 30? It could have been 39. Instead, it's 19. We could have dragged it out. This is really
based on the defense's assertion. She could have made a lot of money off this case, but instead she's
a little bit of money off of this case, and then she paid it all back in cash. I don't know. This is not, to my mind, this is not a winning argument, but we'll talk about the standards and other things. Let's, do we have, I think we've got a couple of clips. Mind you, if you've been watching this, I have predicted that this judge was to some degree done with the Mr. Bradley, who is the lawyer who was asserting privilege, and that after that in-camera hearing, we were going to see from him again. And lo and behold, what happened, Gary?
Oh, I mean, it's just he's been getting sliced and diced in every which way. And, he can't remember things, and then he can remember things, but then he's contradicting himself. It's absurd. We've got 3 clips here. There's no particular order that I think they go in. So
I will just set it up with the fact that if there are texts, and I don't know if Gary can show them, the texts are clear, but there's going to be an evidentiary hurdle you're going to have to get over. But the texts are clear that this guy in real time was helping Ashley, who's on the screen right now, by texting with her. And he knew exactly, he gave her basically the roadmap for here. So
he sure did. And there's, we don't have the text necessarily ready to show on the screen, but they'll be coming out, I'm sure, in due course. And this is a clip that we'll start with that is in regard to one of the texts.
I showed you, or I asked you, I'm sorry, the last question I asked you was, what did Nathan Wade tell you about the relationship?
Same objection, Your Honor.
And that's already been ruled upon.
That's already been ruled upon. The way he says that is just so... this judge is done.
He is so done with this guy as a witness. It's, I would have, and mind you, I'm going to just say it again. The prosecution brought this upon themselves by impeaching this guy on the redirect with the sexual assault accusation. They would not be here but for that move. I don't understand. It's almost, I used to say this about the Zimmerman case 10 years ago. Sometimes when I watch these televised trials, I actually, in fact, Sonny Hassan and I used to fight about this on air. I used to say, I think the prosecution is tanking on purpose during Zimmerman. Mark O'Mara would slap me about that. But they brought this is completely an unforced error. We never would be here. We never would have gotten the privilege set aside and had him back on the stand, but for the prosecution asking those questions on redirect.
Yeah, you hear pundits refer to people playing 4D chess. This is like someone playing 1D chess. Like, I don't get this. Like, checkers, exactly. Checkers, but with quarters, not even with checkers pieces. All right, let's finish this clip off because he gets smacked a few times here.
I recall him stating that at some point they were dating. I can't tell you what date that was. It was made in confidence. We were in the back of our office. Our offices were the only 2 in the back. There was no one else present. That is all I can tell you at this time.
One time?
One time.
You only had a conversation with him one time about the relationship?
Objection, asked and answered.
No, I think that's clarify for a thorough and sifting cross. Ms. Merchant.
I do not recall any other time that he mentioned that they were in a relationship. No.
You may not. Okay. So you talked about this one time, and you said you don't know when it was, though, correct?
That is correct.
Was it before Mr. Wade, before you got the contract in Fulton County? Let's start with that.
I do not recall.
Okay. And how did it come up?
Say again?
How did it come up?
I do not recall how it came up. It was in the back. I know where it occurred. In our offices in the back. I can't tell you what we were discussing prior to that.
Okay. So the key question here is, did it occur prior to the contract? The contract would have been, were they dating at the time Fani Willis hired him? That's correct. For everybody who, and by the way, I have seen so many former prosecutors. My favorite, for 20 years, I've been laughing about former prosecutors, mostly federal, but the idea that this is all a sideshow, God forbid that you ever have one of those former prosecutors defending you, because if they don't understand the relevance and goes to the heart of a prosecutor who's got a different duty than the defense, if they don't understand why it's significant that she would have been dating somebody that she hired as special counsel and taking trips with that person and reimbursing them with cash, then to quote Adam, stupid or lying.
Yeah, it's stupid or liar. That's absolutely right. It boggles the mind. You want to go to our next clip?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. This is more of Mr. Bradley testifying.
How do you have knowledge? What knowledge well, you just told us. You told us Mr. Wade told you. So tell us what Mr. Wade told you about Miss Willis and Mr. Wade meeting at the Evans office.
Objection, Your Honor. Privilege. This clearly covers the time after December 2018 that would be covered by the privilege.
Yeah. Overruled.
Again. Yeah. Overruled. Just shut up. What he wants to say. This is a good judge who's not going to, use the decorum that I would use in our office or anywhere else in the world. But this judge is just basically saying, like, stop it. Shut up. I've already admonished you enough. Just be quiet. Sorry. I'm having too much fun with this.
You recall the question, Mr. Bradley?
I do not.
You re-asked the question, Ms. Merchant.
What did you learn from Mr. Wade? I was clarified that's where you learned it from. About Mr. Wade and Miss Willis meeting at the Evans office together.
I don't object to asked and answered. He's testified that
he hasn't answered. We haven't heard an answer.
He testified he had one conversation with Mr. Wade in the back of his law office.
Yeah, and his answer may change. So overruled.
Off as to how to answer the question.
I can't recall what the conversation was. I do recall knowing that he would go down to the office or had been down to the office, but I can't tell you in what capacity or when or any of that. No.
Mr. Wade told you that they had sex at the office, is that correct?
I don't recall him stating that, no.
You don't recall it?
No.
So it's possible he did say that? You just don't remember one way or another?
I do not remember him saying that.
Using a little bit of her latitude there to sneak that one in.
By the way, when the judge says, when you make an objection, asked and answered, what that means is we've already asked that question. It's already been answered.
Right.
When the judge says he's asked the question, it may change.
His answer.
That tells you all you need to know about how the judge feels about the credibility of the witness.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the judge is kind of the most interesting character to follow at this point. I mean, as fascinating as everyone involved is, the judge is certainly at the end of his rope.
With a very good demeanor.
No, he's being very professional.
Heel and has not taken the bait, and he's impressive.
Yeah. All right, we've given Ashley Merchant enough glow here. We have one more clip of Mr. Bradley testifying, and he is being questioned by a different attorney. So let's watch this one.
Maybe you can tell the court, in your own words, why in the heck would you speculate in this text message and say that it started when she left the DA's office and was a judge in South Fulton? Why would you speculate and say that in a text?
I knew they had met at the municipal court conference.
How do you know that? I'll stop you right there. How did you know that?
I answered that at the last.
I'm asking you now.
I knew that.
Sir, I'm asking you now. I'm asking you questions, and you are in a situation where you get to give answers. Mm-hmm. I'm asking you, how did you know that?
How did I know when they met?
Somebody told you that, right?
When they met?
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Who told you?
Mr. Wade told me when they met.
So you had more than one conversation about the relationship between Mr. Wade and Ms. Willis, because he told you where he met her.
That's correct.
So he's getting hammered from all sides.
Right? Yeah, I mean, and rightfully so. I mean, he's lying through his teeth, in my humble opinion. Anybody who watches this and doesn't come away with that, I don't care if you are anti-Trump, pro-Trump, deranged Trump. I don't care where you are. This is a legal courtroom shit show of witnesses lying through their teeth.
Yeah, I would say that every key witness in this situation has now been pretty much proven to be lying. I mean, you referenced some of the text messages earlier that we don't necessarily have ready to show on screen.
I watched, who has them, Megyn
Kelly. Yeah, we both watched them. And she did a 15-minute segment where she very deftly, went through them, read some of the ones that were key. And, what they show is this gentleman who we've been watching all these clips on, Terrance Bradley, basically directing Ashley Merchant on like who she needed to subpoena in order to establish that their relationship had started beforehand. And Ms. Merchant said, should I subpoena her security detail? And he said, yes, you should, but not the one from today, the ones from when she took off.
Right, the prior detail, because the ones she got now are different. They wouldn't have been privy to when the relationship started. Now, there is one. Did I give you a clip of during the closing of where the judge asked a question? Because this was very telling, I think.
I don't believe so, but if you tell me what you're referencing, I can try to see if I can find it.
I think in the end, the judge had made an inquiry during the closings as to how do I basically accept what's in the texts. This is a very, I think, astute observation by him from an evidentiary standpoint. Understand you've got the texts as you just described them. Understand you've got the statements by Bradley, who has been thoroughly impeached. I think you will see in the judge's ruling, and I anticipate he's going to do a written ruling, you will find that he's going to make a credibility call, and he's going to find that Bradley is not credible. I think that's a given at this point, because he was asking questions. If I find that he's not credible, how do I get in or how do you get in, meaning the defense, how do you get in the text messages? I think, and what I had watched is they did not answer under some of the evidentiary exceptions to hearsay, which they probably should have and maybe will. I would imagine Steve Sato and Ashley Merchant, who are both fine lawyers, will tell him how he gets that in as a prior recorded statement or various other hearsay exceptions. Because if the text messages, if he says, I'm not going to take the text messages, then that's a real problem for the defense. If he admits in the text messages, And by the way, I think Ashley Merchant, obviously, and one of the reasons I think that her husband is there, who also doubles as her law partner, and I think people have said, "Oh my God, Ashley Merchant is sleeping with her law partner, her husband. Look, it's the same thing as she's talking about Fani and Wade." No, it's not the same thing. Don't be silly. You're not acting at a very sophisticated level at all if you think that's the same thing. This is a situation where now it has become apparent that she hired, and I think clearly the judge could find, she hired her lover to get money to him, and then that money was spent on her, and she ended up giving cash to reimburse. There are a host of people that I have been prosecuted for lesser types of situations. Here you're talking about a prosecutor who's bringing this case. And everybody who says this is not an issue or it's a sideshow, in my humble opinion, doesn't know anything about disqualification, appearance of conflict, or what an actual conflict of interest is, and what the standard is in Georgia if you take a look at their statutes. Did you find it already?
We'll see. I did this while you were speaking and I wasn't able to watch it, so I'm hopeful this is right, but you just go ahead and tell me if it's not. I'll play a few seconds of it here. I know we're up against the clock here.
Over an hour and a half for argument to be divided amongst themselves as they've already agreed. And so to effectuate that, I'll have the time queued up, and we'll start the clock running, and y'all can see fit to divide that as you would like. And obviously I've allowed the same amount of time for the state as well. Before we get into that, I believe there may have been a few things just to clean up as part of the record, specifically since we last convened. Counsel on behalf of Mr. Roman had submitted a Defense Exhibit 39, and if there are any objections that wanted to be placed on the record on behalf of the state, we can do that now. But at a minimum, I think the intention was that I would be admitting that collectively as an exhibit, if nothing else, just for appellate purposes for the record. Mr. Abadi, anything the state wants to add as it relates to Exhibit 39?
No objection from the state.
I have a copy for the court reporter. I printed a copy out and then I sent it home.
All right. If you've got that marked and stamped, we'll provide that to the court reporter. All right. And then, as I indicated as well on Tuesday, both parties since the close of the evidence on the 16th had followed up. Now I think both sides have made requests to reopen the evidence. On behalf of the defense, there were some issues with cell phone records, and the state has found an additional witness that they would like to present. And the instruction I provided on Tuesday was that for today, I think we've reached the point where I'd like to hear more of how some of the legal arguments apply to what has already been presented. And it may already be possible for me to make a decision without those needing to be material to that decision. So that's why we're here today. I wanted to make sure we held this time because it is a bit of a logistical challenge to get everyone in a room together. But recognizing that, again, in the interest of efficiency, if both parties want to reserve part of their time to argue as if those proffered exhibits have been admitted, feel free to make whatever arguments you would like. And if in fact it turns out that I do need those to be part of the record to make a decision, then we'd have to come back and we will do those in accordance with the rules of evidence.
It's not exactly what I was thinking of, but it's a great clip, because what he's saying is he thinks he's got enough right now to make a decision on the legal standard, and that whether or not the cell phone records he's talking about are the records that were subpoenaed, I believe, from AT&T by Steve Sato, who was the lawyer, which shows the
geofencing we talked about, where at late hours of the night, Nathan Wade got a call from Fani Willis and then traveled to an area that has been determined to be most likely her home and then stayed for several hours. We spoke about that last week or the week before.
Right. And so he's saying he's already got enough, which is interesting. And I think, Gary, since we're up against it, I think we should close out.
Okay.
say goodbye to you, but we're going to close out with Trump at a rally.
Hey, everybody, what's up? It's Gina Grad. And when you're searching for the perfect piece of jewelry, it can be hard to find a brand you trust. Alex and Ani has been creating meaningful jewelry for over 20 years, designing pieces that connect you with all of life's important moments. With an emphasis on value, there is truly something for everyone. They've recently launched their everyday collection. I could not love it more. These pieces are made from stainless steel and an advanced water-resistant plating method that doesn't tarnish. It has the look of real gold. It's beautiful. I love these pieces because they feel so classic, but they have so much versatility. Alex and Ani are also featuring some gorgeous pieces that I have right here, like Black Lotus, this gorgeous Black Lotus charm necklace, and their Stay Wild pendant, and their Wings of Protection necklace that have a classic and vintage feel. See that? And of course, you can't forget their signature bangle bracelets, which I'm also wearing. And I have a lot of their stuff. I have the numerology bracelets. I have the hula dancer to commemorate a meaningful trip I took to Hawaii. From classic to bold statement pieces, Alex and Ani makes it easy to sprinkle your personality into each piece or make a truly meaningful gift for someone you care about. Meanwhile, you can take comfort in knowing that you're shopping with a socially conscious brand, as Alex and Ani has donated over $60 million to nonprofits worldwide, connecting fashion and philanthropy in an easy, fun, affordable way. Right now, Alex and Ani is offering our audience 20% off. So check their gorgeous collection out at alexandani.com and use the promo code MIDAS. That's MEIDAS at alexandani.com. Use that promo code at checkout for 20% off your order. Come and get something beautiful.
Because even like I said before, if you're anti-Trump, if you're pro-Trump, whatever way you are on the political spectrum, if you're as old as me, you remember Henny Youngman or Shecky Green. And let's just close out here with Trump, because he is the Shecky Green of president of erstwhile and maybe soon to be presidents.
If you don't get that reference, be sure to look it up after you're finished with this episode.
I was indicted by Fani in Georgia. Fani. How did that work out? And her lover, Nathan Wade. And they hired him for almost $1 million because of his great experience. Of course, he didn't have any experience. He had experience in something else. You know that. A lot of experience. And at that, I'm quite sure he was very good, based on the fact that she called him 2,000 times. I didn't know the gentleman. I didn't know him. Oh, you have 2,000 phone calls, 3,500 text messages. How is it possible in a short... I know a lot of people. We like a lot of people. I happen to have a very good relationship with a woman called Melania. But I would venture to say, in all the years that I've known her, I might not have called her 2,500 times. That's all. I know I didn't send 3,500 text messages.
So next week, Gary, who can even comment on that?
I certainly can't, but I feel like you stole the words right out of my mouth from last week. 2,000 calls. Real quick before we go, I'd like to encourage everyone to check out a documentary that is near and dear to both of our hearts. As We Speak, Rap Music on Trial, streaming now on Paramount Plus. I watched it on the plane yesterday. It is a delightful documentary and really something to think about. So check that out if you're so inclined. As We Speak, Rap Music on Trial on Paramount Plus. Mark, thank you for your time. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Reasonable Doubt. Subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/Reasonable Doubt Podcast.